A 9-year-old girl is glowing in the dark. Not a nightlight. Not a phone screen. Her birthmark, the one she was born with that perfectly matches her father's tattoo, is pulsing like a heartbeat, painting her bedroom walls white and blue. Then she opens her eyes. Completely white. No pupils. No humanity. He's screaming, Mommy. Daddy's screaming, but he can't wake up. Her father's been sleeping underground for 2 years in a prison of flowers, holding back something ancient beneath soul. He wasn't supposed to wake for 5 more years. But something's attacking the seal, breaking through, and it knows exactly where he is. The ground is already cracking above him. The orchids are dying, and Leslie has one choice. Accept a role that will burn her memories away, or watch her father and 10 million people die. She has minutes to decide. We're here. Episode 3, the concluding part. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for caring about a single mother and her daughter. Thank you for falling for a mafia boss who became something more. Thank you for being here. Now tell me, where are you right now? What's your situation? Comment your city and what you're doing. Are you supposed to be asleep? Working? Folding laundry but completely invested in this story? Let me know. Let's build this moment together. If this story has meant something to you, show it. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs a story that'll make them feel everything. Kindly watch all the way to the end. This isn't just the conclusion, it's the best part. Everything you've been waiting for. Everything that's going to break your heart and put it back together. It all happens in this episode. Leslie's been glowing in the dark for 3 nights. Tonight, we find out why. Let's finish what we started. Leslie Williams was glowing in the dark. Not metaphorically. Not figuratively. Actually glowing. Her birthmark pulsing with light that painted her bedroom walls in shifting patterns of white and blue. Sarah stood in the doorway, heart hammering, watching her 9-year-old daughter sleepwalk to the window. This had been happening for 3 nights now. Each time, Leslie would stand at the glass, staring down at the city below, whispering words in a language Sarah didn't recognize. Tonight was different. Tonight, Leslie turned around. Eyes still closed, voice layered with something that wasn't entirely her own. He's screaming, Mommy. Sarah's blood turned to ice. Who's screaming, baby? Daddy. He's screaming, but he can't wake up. Something's hurting him. Leslie's hands pressed against the window, leaving glowing prints. We have to go. Now. Before it's too late. Before what's too late? Leslie's eyes snapped open. Pupils completely white, no iris, no humanity. Just ancient magic looking out through a child's face. Before the thing beneath soul breaks free. Before the seal fails. Before your lover burns alive in his flower prison. Then she collapsed. Sarah caught her, felt her daughter's skin burning with fever that shouldn't exist. The birthmark that had once been just on Leslie's wrist had spread over the past 2 years, creeping up her arm, across her shoulder, stopping just short of her heart, like it was claiming her inch by inch. Wake up, Sarah begged, shaking her gently. Please, baby, wake up. Leslie's eyes opened. Brown again, confused, frightened. Mommy, why am I at the window? You were sleepwalking again. Was I saying things? Hannah says I say things when she takes over at night. Leslie touched her birthmark, which was already fading back to its normal soft glow. Bad things. Sarah couldn't lie to her. You said Daddy's in danger. Leslie went very still. Is he? I don't know. Hannah knows. Leslie's voice dropped to a whisper. She says the seal is breaking. Not slowly like it was supposed to. Fast. Something's attacking it from underneath. And Daddy's right in the middle, still asleep, still vulnerable. He's been down there for 2 years. The orchids have kept him safe. The orchids are dying, Mommy. Leslie looked up with eyes too knowing for 9 years old. That's what Hannah's trying to tell us. Whatever the seal was holding back, it's pushing through, killing the flowers. And when they die, she didn't finish. Didn't have to. Sarah's mind raced. 2 years. It had been 2 years since she'd watched Kong Min lie down among those white orchids, since roots had woven through him, since he'd disappeared beneath flowers to hold a seal until Leslie was old enough to accept the guardian role. 5 more years. That's how long he was supposed to sleep. Get dressed, Sarah said suddenly. We're going. Now. Right now. While Leslie threw on clothes, Sarah grabbed her phone, pulled up Dae-Young's number. It was 2:47 a.m., but he answered on the first ring. He always did. Ms. Williams. I need access to the harbor tunnels. Immediately. A pause. Has something happened? I think the seal is failing. I think Kong Min is in danger. I'll have a team ready in 20 minutes. No team. Just me and Leslie. No one else can know about this. Sarah's voice turned hard. Those were his orders, remember? No one knows where he is. Ms. Williams, if there's a threat, then I'm the only one who can handle it. Me and our daughter. She hung up before he could argue. 15 minutes later, they were in Sarah's car, racing through Seoul's empty pre-dawn streets. Leslie sat in the passenger seat, birthmark glowing like a compass, actually pointing the direction they needed to go. It's getting worse, Leslie said quietly. I can feel it, like something screaming in my head. Hannah. No. The thing under the seal. It's angry. Old angry. It's been trapped for so long, and now it smells freedom. Leslie's hands clenched. And it knows Daddy's there. It knows if it can break him, the seal weakens faster. Sarah pressed the accelerator harder. How do you know all this? Because I'm connected to it. The mark connects me to everything, the orchids, the seal, the thing beneath Daddy. Leslie looked at her hands. That's what being chosen means. I feel all of it. All the time. Baby, you're 9 years old. You shouldn't have to. But I do. Leslie's voice held no self-pity. Just acceptance. This is what I am now. What I was born to be. They reached the harbor district as dawn began breaking over Seoul. The streets were quiet, too quiet. No emergency vehicles yet, no chaos, but Sarah could feel wrongness in the air. A vibration under her feet when she stepped out of the car. The faint smell of something floral and rotting. We don't have much time, Leslie said, already moving toward the hidden entrance. Once the sun rises fully, the seal weakens more. Light and dark, they're part of the balance. Whatever's down there is strongest in the transition. Sarah grabbed her flashlight, followed her daughter through the familiar path. Behind shipping containers, past the rusted maintenance door that opened to Leslie's touch. The stairs descended into darkness that felt heavier than it should. More oppressive, like the earth itself was holding its breath. Stay close, Sarah said, taking Leslie's hand. They stepped into the black together, mother and daughter, heading down to save a man who'd been sleeping for 2 years in a prison of flowers. Behind them, the door sealed itself. And somewhere far below, in a chamber filled with dying orchids, Kong Min's eyes began to open for the first time in 730 days. Screaming. Sarah's mind raced. Leslie was sleepwalking, talking about orchids underground, her birthmark glowing like it had in the warehouse. None of this was normal. But then again, nothing about her daughter had ever been normal. Baby, wake up. Sarah shook her gently. Leslie, can you hear me? Leslie's eyes opened, but they weren't quite focused. She looked through Sarah rather than at her. The flowers remember everything, Leslie said in that too calm voice. They remember when Daddy got the mark. They remember the promise. They remember how to find him. How do you know this? Hannah told me. Leslie blinked, and suddenly she was just a tired 6-year-old again. The girl in my head. She knows about the orchids. Her daddy, the tattoo man, he knew about them too. Sarah's stomach twisted. The tattoo artist. The man who'd created the blood bonds, who'd been trying to resurrect his daughter through mystical vessels. Of course he'd known about something supernatural beneath Seoul. Where are they? Sarah asked. The orchids. Where do we find them? I don't know the address, Leslie said, frustration creeping into her voice. I just feel them. Like a pull. Like when your compass tells you which way to go. The compass rose. Always pointing somewhere. Sarah looked around the safe house. Dae-young and his men were outside, guarding the perimeter. They'd never let her leave. Especially not to chase mystical flowers through underground tunnels based on a 6-year-old's supernatural intuition. But Kong Min was down there. Leslie was certain. And Sarah had learned to trust her daughter's impossible knowing. She grabbed her phone, pulled up Kong Min's contacts. Most were in Korean, but she scrolled until she found something promising, a folder labeled Harbor District Infrastructure. Inside were maps, detailed blueprints of underground tunnels, maintenance passages, old smuggling routes beneath the pier. Kong Min had documented them all, probably for his organization's operations, but now they might be Sarah's way to find him. One map showed a network of passages leading from the harbor deep beneath the city. And at the bottom, in Kong Min's handwriting, old-growth chambers. Abandoned 1987. Do not enter. The year the tattoo artist's daughter died. That's it, Sarah breathed. That's where they are. She looked at Leslie. Can you be brave for me? Can you help Mommy find Daddy? Leslie nodded, suddenly looking very small and very young. I'm scared, Mommy. Me too, baby. Sarah pulled her close. But we're going anyway, because that's what family does. She grabbed a backpack from the closet, stuffed it with flashlights, water bottles, the maps from Kong Min's phone. Found a jacket to cover Leslie's glowing birthmark. Then she opened the window. They were on the 3rd floor, but there was a fire escape. Wait. Leslie tugged her mother's hand. The men outside. They'll see us. I know. We'll have to be fast. No. Leslie's birthmark pulsed. I can make them not see us. For a little while. Sarah stared. What? Hannah says the mark can do things. Hide things. Make people look away. Leslie's voice wavered between child and something older. But it hurts. And it won't last long. Baby, I can't ask you to. Daddy's down there. Leslie's jaw set with determination that reminded Sarah exactly whose daughter she was. I can do it. The little girl closed her eyes, and the birthmark flared bright. Sarah felt something shift in the air, like reality hiccuping, like the world deciding to pay attention elsewhere. Go now, Leslie whispered, face scrunched with concentration. Hurry. Sarah climbed out the window, Leslie in her arms, and descended the fire escape. Below, Dae-Young stood guard at the corner, looking directly at them. But his eyes slid away, unfocused, seeing without registering. They reached the ground and ran. Sarah didn't look back until they'd rounded 3 corners and disappeared into the maze of Gangnam's back alleys. Leslie sagged in her arms, birthmark dimming. I can't do it anymore. You did perfect, baby. So perfect. Sarah kissed her forehead, kept running. Behind them, she heard shouting. Dae-Young had noticed they were gone. But Sarah had the maps, Leslie had the compass pull, and they had maybe 20 minutes before Kong Min's men found them. They needed to move faster. Sarah flagged down a taxi, gave the driver an address near the harbor. Paid in cash Kong Min had left in her jacket. The driver eyed Leslie's glowing wrist suspiciously, but said nothing. Seoul blurred past the windows. Neon lights and rain-slicked streets and people going about their normal lives, unaware that beneath their feet, something supernatural was growing. Mommy. Leslie's small voice pulled Sarah from her thoughts. What if we find Daddy and what if he's not okay? The question Sarah had been avoiding. Then we bring him home anyway, she said firmly. And we do everything we can to make him okay. What if the orchids won't let us? Sarah's grip tightened on her daughter. Then I'll burn every last flower until they do. The taxi pulled up near the old harbor district. Sarah paid, lifted Leslie, and started walking toward the coordinates from Kong Min's map. The entrance was hidden, a rusted maintenance door behind shipping containers, marked with a faded symbol that matched the one in Leslie's birthmark. A compass rose. 8 points. Sarah pulled on the handle. Locked. Let me. Leslie placed her small hand on the lock, and her birthmark glowed. Something inside clicked. The door swung open, revealing stairs descending into absolute darkness. From below came a faint smell, sweet floral wrong. White orchids. Sarah turned on her flashlight, adjusted Leslie in her arms, and stepped into the dark. We're coming, Min, she whispered into the shadows. Hold on. Behind them, the door swung shut with a hollow boom. And somewhere far below, something ancient stirred in the darkness, sensing their approach. The orchids were waiting. The stairs went down forever. Sarah counted 73 steps before losing track, her flashlight beam swallowed by darkness that felt physical, alive. The air grew colder with each descent, thick with moisture and that cloying floral scent. Leslie clung to her neck, birthmark casting just enough glow to illuminate their immediate surroundings. The walls were old stone, slick with condensation, covered in growth that looked like moss but moved when the light touched it. Don't look at the walls too long, Leslie whispered. They don't like being watched. Sarah didn't ask how her daughter knew that. Just kept her eyes forward and kept moving. The stairs finally ended at a tunnel. Not modern construction. This was ancient, carved by hand centuries ago. Korean characters had been etched into the stone at intervals, warnings Sarah couldn't read. But the symbol she recognized, repeated every few meters. The compass rose. This way. Leslie pointed left without hesitation. I can feel him. He's close. They moved through the tunnel, Sarah's flashlight picking out details that made no sense. Roots growing from stone where no roots should be. Water flowing upward along the walls. And everywhere, the smell of orchids. The tunnel branched, then branched again. A labyrinth designed to lose anyone foolish enough to enter. But Leslie never hesitated, guided by whatever connection her birthmark gave her. Baby, are you sure? There. Leslie pointed ahead. The tunnel opened into a chamber, and Sarah's breath stopped. White orchids covered everything. Growing from stone, hanging from the ceiling, their roots creating intricate patterns across the floor. They glowed with soft bioluminescence, bathing the chamber in ethereal light. And lying among them, unconscious but breathing, was Kong Min. Min! Sarah rushed forward, nearly dropping Leslie in her haste. He looked terrible. Clothes torn and singed, blood dried on his temples, skin too pale. But his chest rose and fell steadily, and when Sarah pressed her fingers to his neck, his pulse was strong. Thank God, she breathed. Thank God you're. Movement in the corner of her vision made her spin. Minji sat propped against the far wall, half hidden by orchids that seemed to be growing through her. Not around her, through her. White roots had pierced her skin at multiple points, glowing faintly beneath the surface like veins made of light. You came. Minji's voice was weak but unsurprised. I knew you would. Sarah's hand instinctively went to Leslie, protective. What is this place? What happened? I saved him. Minji's eyes drifted to Kong Min. When we fell, I grabbed him, pulled him through the water to an access tunnel. But I was bleeding out, dying. The orchids. She lifted one hand, showing how the roots had woven through her fingers. They offered a trade. My life for his. My body as their anchor, and they'd heal him enough to survive. You're dying to keep him alive? I'm already dead. Minji's smile was sad. I died the moment I decided to kidnap your daughter. This is just taking longer. Her gaze found Leslie, and something softened in her expression. I'm sorry, little one. For everything. Leslie pulled away from Sarah, walked toward Minji without fear. The orchids parted for her, bowing like subjects before royalty. You saved my daddy, Leslie said simply. That means you're not bad anymore. I'm not sure it works that way. It does for me. Leslie placed her small hand over one of Minji's root-pierced ones. Thank you for saving him. Minji's eyes glistened. I always wanted a child, she whispered. And for just this moment, I get to feel what that's like. Sarah felt something crack in her chest. Hate warred with gratitude, jealousy with understanding. This woman had tried to destroy her family. This woman had saved the man she loved. This woman was dying to keep him alive. The orchids, Sarah said. What are they? Guardians. Ancient ones. Minji's voice was fading. The tattoo wasn't just a mark of love. It was a bloodline seal. Every generation, someone with the mark is chosen to protect what sleeps here. To keep it contained. Keep what contained. Something old. Something that would consume soul if it woke. Minji's eyes found Leslie. Your daughter was born with the mark. Not Kong Min. Not me. Her. The orchids chose her as the next guardian. Ice flooded Sarah's veins. No. She's 6 years old. She's not. I know. Minji coughed, and light leaked from her mouth. That's why they're dying. The orchids. The seal is failing because Leslie's too young to accept the role. They're trying to hold on until she's old enough. But what? But someone's been weakening them deliberately. Trying to break the seal early. Minji's expression darkened. Jihun. He was supposed to be the guardian, but the orchids rejected him. So he's been destroying them, trying to force Leslie into the role before she's ready. If she accepts it now, unprepared, it'll kill her. If she doesn't, the seal breaks and what's beneath gets free. Sarah pulled Leslie back, mind reeling. Then we take her and run. We get as far from here as. You can't run from a bloodline seal. Minji's voice turned urgent. Listen to me. There's a way. The orchids need time. They need someone to anchor them while Leslie grows strong enough. Someone with the mark already. Understanding dawned with horrible clarity. Kong Min. He has to accept the guardian role. Temporarily. Until Leslie's old enough. Minji's breathing grew labored. The orchids will keep him here. Underground. Sleeping. Healing. Waiting. For years. No. Sarah's voice broke. I just got him back. I can't. He wanted Leslie protected at all cost. Minji's eyes held Sarah's. This is the cost. There has to be another way. A sound echoed through the tunnels. Slow, mocking applause. Jihun stepped from a passage Sarah hadn't noticed, gun in hand, smile sharp as broken glass. Oh, there is another way, he said pleasantly. I kill Leslie. Seal breaks. Everyone dies. Problem solved. He raised the gun. Sarah dove in front of her daughter. The shot rang out. The bullet never reached Sarah. Minji threw herself forward with the last of her strength, roots tearing from her body with wet, sickening sounds. She collided with Sarah, knocking them both aside as the shot went wide, sparking off stone. Minji collapsed into Sarah's arms, blood and luminescent fluid pouring from where the orchid roots had ripped free. I always wanted a child, Minji gasped, eyes already glazing. And she loved me like one. Even for a moment. Her gaze drifted past Sarah to where Kong Min lay unconscious among the flowers. Tell him. Her voice faded to barely a whisper. Tell him I kept my promise. I found my way back. The light in her veins flickered once, twice, then went dark. Minji's eyes stayed open, fixed on something beyond this world, her expression peaceful. Redeemed in the end by the same maternal instinct she'd once twisted into kidnapping. Sarah held her for a moment. This complicated woman who'd been enemy and savior both, then gently laid her down among the orchids. No, Jehun's scream tore through the chamber. No, you stupid woman. You were supposed to. His voice cracked with something between rage and grief. Sarah looked up to see tears streaming down his face. You loved her, Sarah realized. That's what this was really about. I loved her first. Jehun's gun shook in his hand. Before Min. Before the tattoos. Before everything. But she only ever saw him. Only ever wanted him. His expression twisted with decades of bitterness. The orchids should have chosen me. I was loyal. I waited. I deserved. You deserved nothing, a voice said from behind him. Kong Min rose from the orchids like a ghost returning from death. Blood still stained his clothes, his movements were slow and pained, but his eyes burned with cold fury. You tried to kill my daughter. Each word came out precise, controlled, deadly. You betrayed our blood. You orchestrated everything. The letters to Minji, the kidnapping, Jinho's corruption, all of it. You betrayed me. Jehun spun, gun now pointed at Kong Min. The mark was supposed to be mine. Minji was supposed to be mine. But you took everything. I took nothing you were ever owed. The orchids rejected me. Do you know what that feels like? To be deemed unworthy by flowers. Jehun's laugh came out broken. So I decided if I couldn't be guardian, no one would. Let the seal break. Let soul burn. At least then you'd finally lose something the way I lost everything. You haven't lost everything yet. Kong Min took a step forward despite his injuries. You still have your life. For how long? Jehun's finger tightened on the trigger. The moment I kill Leslie, the seal breaks. The orchids die. And whatever they've been keeping contained gets free. We all die together. Poetic, don't you think? He aimed at Leslie again. Sarah grabbed her daughter. But there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide in the circular chamber. The orchids pulsed violently, sensing the threat to their chosen guardian. Jehun, don't. Kong Min started forward. The gun fired. Time seemed to slow. Sarah watched the muzzle flash, knew she couldn't move fast enough, knew this was how it ended. Leslie stepped out from behind her mother. Her birthmark exploded with light. The bullet stopped midair, suspended in a sphere of white radiance that emanated from the little girl's wrist. The orchids throughout the chamber blazed bright, responding to their chosen one, lending her their ancient power. Leslie looked at Jehun with eyes that held both her innocent 6-year-old self and something infinitely older. You hurt people I love, she said, voice layered with 2 speakers, herself and Hannah, the spirit she shared her body with. The orchids don't like that. The flowers moved. Not like plants, like predators. Roots shot from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. They wrapped around Jehun's legs, his arms, his torso. He screamed, fired wildly, but the bullets dissolved in Leslie's protective light. No, this isn't. I was supposed to. You were supposed to protect, Leslie said, and now her voice was definitely not entirely her own. But you chose to destroy. The seal judges you unworthy. The orchids tightened, pulling Jehun toward the chamber's center where the largest cluster grew. He struggled, fought, but the roots were inexorable. Leslie, stop. Sarah rushed forward, grabbing her daughter's shoulders. Baby, you're hurting him. He tried to kill me, Mommy. He tried to kill you. He tried to kill Daddy. Leslie turned, and her eyes were completely white now. The orchids say people who try to kill guardians don't get mercy. I know, baby, but you're not a killer. You're 6 years old. You're my little girl who loves coloring and asks too many questions, Anne. Sarah pulled her close, feeling the unnatural heat radiating from her daughter's skin. Please come back to me. Don't let this thing turn you into something you're not. For a long moment, nothing changed. Then Leslie blinked, and brown eyes looked out again instead of white. Mommy. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. The light faded slightly. The orchids stopped tightening around Jehun, though they didn't release him. He hung suspended in the chamber's center, breathing hard, terror finally replacing madness in his expression. The mark judges you, Kong Min said, moving to stand beside Sarah and Leslie. His tattoo glowed faintly, resonating with his daughter's birthmark. But my daughter shows you mercy you never showed her. He looked at the orchids. Hold him. Don't kill him. Let him watch what he tried to destroy. The flowers pulsed once, acknowledgement. Kong Min knelt beside his family, one hand on Sarah's shoulder, the other touching Leslie's glowing wrist. What happens now? Sarah whispered. Leslie looked up at her father, tears streaming down her face. You have to sleep, Daddy. The orchids need you to sleep until I'm big enough to be the guardian. Kong Min's expression cracked. For how long? 7 years. 7 years. The words hung in the chamber like a sentence. Sarah felt her world tilt, everything she'd fought for threatening to slip away again. No. Her voice came out firm despite the tears already forming. Absolutely not. There has to be another way. There isn't. Kong Min's hand trembled slightly where it touched Leslie's wrist. The seal is failing. Someone has to anchor it. Someone with the mark. Then let it fail. Let whatever's down here get out. We'll run, we'll hide, Seoul has 10 million people, Sarah. His eyes met hers, and she saw the resignation there. The acceptance. If the seal breaks, they all die. Every single one. I don't care about them. I care about you. About us. Sarah's composure shattered completely. We just found each other. Leslie just got her father. You can't ask me to lose you for 7 years. She'll be 13 by then. You'll miss everything. Her first day of school, her birthdays, her growing up. I know. His voice broke on the words. God, Sarah, I know. Leslie stood between them, small and scared and trying so hard to be brave. It's my fault. The orchids chose me, but I'm too little. If I was bigger. This is not your fault. Kong Min pulled her into his arms. None of this is your fault. You're perfect exactly as you are. But Daddy has to sleep because of me. Daddy has to sleep because of me. Kong Min corrected gently. I'm the one who got the tattoo. I'm the one who brought you into this world marked. This is my responsibility. Sarah watched them. Father and daughter, both marked by impossible magic, both trying to protect the other. The unfairness of it carved something hollow in her chest. How does it work? She asked quietly. The sleeping. Kong Min looked at the orchids surrounding them. I lie down among them. They'll grow through me the way they grew through Minji. But instead of taking my life, they'll preserve it. Suspend it. I won't age. Won't dream. Won't feel time passing. You'll be like Sleeping Beauty, Leslie said, voice small. Something like that. And when I turn 13, you'll be old enough to accept the guardian role. The orchids will release me. We'll do the transfer ceremony. Kong Min touched her cheek. And then Daddy wakes up. 7 years for me will feel like one night's sleep. But for us it's 7 years, Sarah said. 7 years of you being gone. 7 years of Leslie growing up without you. 7 years of... Her throat closed. Of me being alone again. Kong Min stood, moved to her, pulled her into his arms. You won't be alone. You'll have Leslie. You'll have my resources. The syndicate will support you, protect you. Dae-young will make sure you're safe. I don't want resources. I don't want protection. Sarah pressed her face against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. I want you. I know. He kissed the top of her head. I want you too. I want to watch our daughter grow up. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want normal, boring domesticity. His arms tightened around her. But wanting doesn't change what has to happen. Sarah pulled back, looked up at him. The letter. You said you were mine long before you admitted it. When? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. That first night. 7 years ago. When you told me about your sick brother and cried because you felt guilty for being happy even for one night. His hand cupped her face. I knew then you were someone I'd remember. I just didn't know you'd become someone I couldn't forget. You left anyway. I was a coward. He leaned his forehead against hers. I was still chasing Minji's ghost. Couldn't admit I'd fallen for someone real. And now I'd give anything for more time. For one more day. One more hour. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. One more kiss. Sarah didn't let him finish the thought. She kissed him, desperate and fierce, pouring 7 years of love into one moment. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, and for just seconds they weren't in an underground chamber surrounded by supernatural flowers. They were just two people who'd found each other against impossible odds. When they broke apart, both were crying. "I love you," Sarah said. "I should have said it sooner. Should have said it every day instead of being scared. I love you too." He touched her face like he was memorizing it. "Take care of our daughter. Tell her stories about me so she doesn't forget. She won't forget. I won't let her." And Sarah, his expression turned serious. "When I wake up, because I will wake up, don't wait for me. If you find someone who makes you happy, someone who can be there for you, and Leslie." "Stop." She pressed her fingers to his lips. "I've waited 7 years for you already. I can wait 7 more. That's not fair to you. Nothing about this is fair." Sarah's voice turned fierce. "But you're mine, Kong Min. You said so yourself in that letter. And I'm yours. 7 years, 70 years, I don't care. When you wake up, I'll be here." He pulled her close again, and she felt him shaking. This strong, dangerous man who'd built an empire was breaking in her arms. "I'm scared," he admitted quietly. "Me too. What if something goes wrong? What if 7 years isn't enough? What if? Then we figure it out together when you wake up." Sarah forced strength into her voice she didn't feel. "But right now you have to do this. For Leslie. For Sol. For all of us." Leslie had been watching silently, tears streaming down her face. Now she moved forward, wrapped her small arms around both her parents. "Group hug," she whispered. They held each other in the glow of the orchids. A family about to be torn apart, trying to memorize how this felt. The orchids seemed to sense what was coming. They pulsed with softer light, almost gentle, as if trying to comfort the family they were about to separate. Kong Min pulled away first. Had to. If he held them any longer, he'd never let go. "I need to do this now," he said, "before I lose my nerve." He walked to the chamber's center where the orchids grew thickest, their roots creating a natural bed of white and green. Minji's body lay nearby, already being reclaimed by the flowers, a reminder of what sacrifice looked like. Kong Min knelt, then lay down slowly. The moment his back touched the roots, they began to move, weaving around him with careful precision. "Does it hurt?" Leslie asked, voice small. "No." Kong Min managed a smile. "It's actually warm. Peaceful." A root wrapped around his wrist, the one with the compass rose tattoo. Like being held. Sarah knelt beside him, took his free hand. "What do I tell people? Your organization, your business partners, they'll ask where you are. Tell them I went into hiding. Security threat, had to disappear for a while. Dae-young will handle the details." More roots were climbing his arms now, wrapping around his chest. "The syndicate has contingency plans for this. They'll manage. And when Leslie needs you, when she has questions only a father can answer, then you bring her here." Kong Min's eyes found Leslie. "The orchids will let you visit. Not often, maybe once a year on her birthday. You can come down, tell me what I'm missing. I won't be able to respond, but I'll hear you. Some part of me will remember." Leslie climbed over the roots to lie next to her father, her small body fitting perfectly in the crook of his arm. "Will you dream about us?" "I don't know, baby. Maybe. If I do, I'll dream about you growing up strong and brave." He kissed her forehead. "About your mother being happy. About the 3 of us being together again. When you wake up, can we get a dog?" The question was so normal, so childlike, it broke something in all of them. Kong Min laughed through tears. Yeah, we can get a dog. The biggest, fluffiest dog you want. Promise. I promise." The roots had covered most of his torso now, beginning to work their way up his neck. Time was running out. "Sarah." His voice was urgent. "Come here. Please." She lay down on his other side, and his arm wrapped around her one last time. The 3 of them, mother, father, daughter, held together in the glow of ancient magic. "I need you to know something," Kong Min said. "These months with you, with Leslie, they're the only time in my life I've felt real. Everything before was just preparation for finding you. Don't make this sound like goodbye forever." Sarah's voice cracked. "This is just sleep. Just 7 years. You're coming back." "I'm coming back," he agreed. "But in case something happens, nothing will happen. But if it does, I need you to know, you made me human again. You and Leslie. You turned me into something more than just a criminal with a legacy. You made me a father, a partner, someone worth saving. The roots reached his jaw. Minutes left now, maybe seconds. I love you, Kong Min said. Both of you. More than destiny. More than magic. More than any promise I made before I knew you existed. We love you too, Sarah whispered. So much. Leslie pressed her face against his chest. 7 years isn't that long. I'll be big when you wake up. You might not even recognize me. I'd recognize you anywhere. You have your mother's eyes. He looked at Sarah, and her stubborn determination to save the people she loves even when it's stupid and dangerous. I learned from the best. The roots covered his mouth. He couldn't speak anymore, but his eyes said everything: love, regret, hope, goodbye. Sarah kissed him one last time, tasting salt and orchids and the bitter sweetness of temporary endings. The roots covered his eyes. Kong Min disappeared beneath white flowers, his body becoming part of the chamber, part of the seal, part of the ancient magic that kept Seoul safe. The light from his tattoo pulsed once, bright and strong, a heartbeat, then settled into a steady, quiet glow. He was asleep. Sarah sat up, pulling Leslie with her, both of them staring at the mound of orchids that now held him. Is he really okay in there? Leslie asked. The orchids say yes. Sarah could feel it somehow, a wordless assurance from the flowers. He's safe, just sleeping, waiting for you. For 7 years. For 7 years. They sat in silence, letting the reality settle. Then Leslie stood, walked to where Jehun still hung suspended in roots, eyes wide with terror. You, she said quietly. You tried to kill me. You hurt my daddy. You made my mommy cry. Jehun's mouth was covered by a root, but his eyes pleaded. The orchids want to keep you here. Forever. Let you starve in the dark. Leslie tilted her head, considering. But my daddy said to show mercy. And my mommy said I'm not a killer. She touched his foot, and the roots loosened slightly. Not enough to free him, but enough that he could breathe easier. So you get to live. But you stay down here. You watch the orchids keep the seal strong. You guard my daddy while he sleeps. Her birthmark glowed. And if anything happens to him, if even one flower hurts him, the orchids will know. And they won't be merciful. The roots tightened again in warning, and Jehun nodded frantically. Good. Leslie turned back to Sarah. Can we go home now, Mommy? I'm tired. Sarah looked at the mound of flowers hiding the man she loved. Every instinct screamed to stay, to keep watch, to not leave him alone in the dark. But Leslie needed her. Needed normal life and bedtime stories, and a mother who wasn't falling apart. Yeah, baby. Let's go home. They climbed back through the tunnels in silence, Sarah's flashlight leading the way, Leslie's birthmark providing backup illumination. The chamber sealed itself behind them, roots growing across the entrance, hiding what lay beneath from anyone who might stumble upon it. When they emerged into Seoul's pre-dawn air, the city was just beginning to wake. Street vendors setting up, early commuters heading to subway stations. The normal rhythm of 10 million lives continuing obliviously. Sarah's phone exploded with notifications the moment they reached street level. 73 missed calls from Dae-young. 42 text messages. Voicemails piling up. She called him back. Ms. Williams. Where the hell? Are you safe? Is the girl? We're fine. We're both fine. You escaped a secured safe house. Do you have any idea? He stopped, voice shifting. The boss. Did you find him? Sarah looked at Leslie, who was staring up at the sky with exhausted eyes. He's safe. Sleeping. He'll be gone for a while. Gone where? Ms. Williams, I need details. The organization is in chaos. People are asking questions. Tell them he's in hiding. Security threat. Needs to disappear for several years. She kept her voice steady, professional. He left contingency plans. Follow them. I'll handle the rest. Several years? Ms. Williams. Those are his orders, Dae-young. Are you questioning them? A long pause. No, ma'am. Good. Send a car to our location. And Dae-young? No one knows about this. Not the hiding place, not the circumstances, nothing. Understood. Understood. The car arrived 20 minutes later. Not Dae-young himself, but a driver Sarah recognized from Kong Min's regular detail. A man who knew when to stay silent. They rode back to the safe house. Sarah half expected an interrogation, but Dae-young had already cleared out, leaving only a note. Boss's orders are absolute. Whatever you need, you have. D. Sarah collapsed on the couch, pulling Leslie into her lap. Her daughter was already falling asleep, the night's trauma and magic finally catching up. "Mommy," Leslie mumbled. "Will it really be 7 years?" "Yes, baby. That's so long." "I know. What if I forget what he looks like?" Sarah's throat tightened. "We have pictures, videos, and we can visit him once a year, remember? On your birthday. Will he know I'm there?" "Some part of him will." The orchids promised. Leslie was quiet for a moment. "Hannah says she's sorry. For all of this. She didn't mean for her daddy to make me a vessel. She was just lonely in the dark." Sarah stroked her daughter's hair. "Is she always there? In your head?" "Not always. Sometimes she sleeps. Sometimes I can't hear her at all." Leslie yawned. "But when I'm scared, she helps me be brave. Like having a big sister." "Do you like having her there?" "I don't know yet. It's weird. But..." Leslie's eyes drifted closed. "It's not bad weird. Just different weird." Within minutes, she was asleep. Sarah sat holding her daughter, mind spinning through everything that had happened. A month ago, Leslie had walked up to a stranger in a restaurant and changed 3 lives forever. Now that stranger was her lover, asleep underground for 7 years. The woman who'd kidnapped Leslie had died saving them. And her daughter shared her body with a spirit from 1987. Nothing made sense. Everything hurt. But Leslie was alive. Safe. That's what mattered. Sarah's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "The organization is secure. Finances handled. Security upgraded. You won't want for anything. But Ms. Williams, the boss, left one final instruction for me. If anything happened to him, I was to give you this." An attachment loaded. A video file. Sarah hesitated, then hit play. Kong Min's face filled the screen. He was in his penthouse office, looking tired but determined. The timestamp showed it was recorded 2 days after Leslie's kidnapping. Before the warehouse, before the explosion, before everything fell apart. "Sarah," his recorded voice made her chest ache. "If you're seeing this, I'm either dead or gone. Either way, I need you to hear something. I've lived 42 years as a criminal. Built an empire on violence and fear and doing what was necessary. I thought that's all I was, all I'd ever be. A monster in an expensive suit. Then Leslie walked up to my table and showed me her wrist, and everything I thought I knew about myself shattered. I had a daughter. This impossible, beautiful little girl who existed because one night 7 years ago, I made a choice that led to you. And you." His expression softened. "God, Sarah, you're so much stronger than I ever was. Raising her alone, working yourself to exhaustion, sending money home to family while barely surviving yourself. You never complained. Never asked for help. Just kept going, because that's what mothers do. I don't know what I've done to deserve either of you. Probably nothing. Probably I deserve exactly what's coming to me, death or disappearance or whatever fate has planned. But if I get even one more day with you both, I'll take it. And if I don't..." He paused, gathering himself. "If I don't, then I need you to promise me something. Live, Sarah. Actually live. Not just survive. Take the money I've left you. It's more than you'll need. And build a real life for Leslie. Let her have normal. Let her have childhood. And let yourself have happiness, even if I'm not there to share it. Don't spend 7 years, or however long it takes, waiting for me. Don't put your life on hold for a ghost. I love you. I loved you from that first night 7 years ago, even though I was too stupid to admit it. I loved you when Leslie showed me her wrist. I loved you every morning I woke up next to you. And I'll love you in whatever comes next. Take care of our daughter. Take care of yourself. And Sarah, thank you for everything." The video ended. Sarah replayed the video 7 times before she could stop crying. Then she carefully saved it, backed it up to 3 different places, and made sure she'd never lose his voice. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of logistics and grief. Dae-Young handled the syndicate with ruthless efficiency. Kong Min's disappearance was explained as a strategic withdrawal due to ongoing threats. The organization consolidated under a council of his most trusted lieutenants, with strict orders to maintain operations until his return. No timeline was given. No one questioned it. The money Kong Min had mentioned was substantial. Offshore accounts, legitimate investments, enough to keep Sarah and Leslie comfortable for multiple lifetimes. Sarah transferred most of it into trusts for Leslie's future, kept enough for immediate needs, and donated a significant portion to medical charities in South Africa. Her brother's illness, the one she'd sent money home for all those years, had actually been real, it turned out. Not manufactured by conspiracies or orchids. Just cruel luck. The donation paid for his treatment and hundreds of others. It felt like something Kong Min would have approved of. Sarah and Leslie moved out of the safe house into a modest apartment in Itaewon. Not the penthouse that held too many memories, but somewhere comfortable. Somewhere that felt like theirs. Leslie enrolled in a private school. Made friends. Started acting like a normal 6-year-old again. Though Sarah would catch her sometimes staring at her birthmark, having silent conversations with the ghost sister who lived in her head. "Is Hannah okay?" Sarah asked one evening, watching Leslie color at the kitchen table. "She's sad sometimes. She misses her real daddy." Leslie didn't look up from her drawing. "But she likes being with me. Says it's better than the dark." "Does she know what happened? With the orchids and the seal?" "She knows. She says we did good. That the old magic is sleeping safe now." Leslie finally looked up. "But Mommy," she says, "there's other old magic. Not sleeping. Still awake." Ice trickled down Sarah's spine. "What kind of magic?" "She doesn't know. Just that the orchids were guarding one thing, but there's other things in Seoul. Under the city. Old things that people forgot about." Leslie went back to coloring. "But that's for when I'm bigger. When I'm the real guardian." 7 years. 7 years until Leslie was old enough to accept a role that would bind her to this city, to supernatural responsibilities Sarah barely understood. 7 years until Kong Min woke up. Time moved strangely after that. Days felt endless, but weeks flew past. Sarah threw herself into being present, actually present, for Leslie. School pickups, homework help, birthday parties with normal children who had no idea her daughter was marked by ancient magic. She made friends with other mothers. Went on awkward coffee dates with men Dae-young insisted on vetting first. Nothing ever felt right. No one was Kong Min. So she stopped trying. Instead, she started painting. Something she'd loved before Leslie was born, before survival consumed everything. She wasn't good, but it filled the empty hours after Leslie went to bed. Most of her paintings were abstract. Swirls of white that looked suspiciously like orchids. Dark figures that might have been a man sleeping. A little girl with glowing hands. She never showed them to anyone. 6 months after Kong Min disappeared, Sarah took Leslie to visit him for the first time. They went at night when the harbor was quiet. Down the stairs, through the tunnels, familiar now, less frightening. The chamber opened for them like it recognized its guardian in waiting. The mound of orchids that covered Kong Min had grown thicker. He was completely hidden now, just a shape beneath white flowers. But his tattoo still glowed faintly, visible through the petals. A heartbeat. Proof of life. "Hi, Daddy," Leslie said softly, kneeling beside the mound. "I'm 6.5 now. I lost 2 teeth. I can read chapter books. And Mommy says I'm getting tall." She talked for an hour, telling him everything. School, friends, the dog they'd gotten despite him being asleep. A golden retriever named Compass. Sarah sat nearby, listening, memorizing her daughter's voice. This would be their ritual now. Once a year, coming down to tell a sleeping man all the things he was missing. When Leslie finally ran out of words, she kissed the orchids where his face would be. 7 more years. Then we get you back. They climbed back up together. Leslie fell asleep in the car, exhausted by the emotion of it. But Sarah couldn't sleep that night. Lay awake remembering the weight of Kong Min's arm around her. The sound of his heartbeat. The way he'd look at Leslie like she was the most precious thing in the world. "Don't wait for me," he'd said in the video. But how could she not? How could she move on when part of her was underground, sleeping in flowers, waiting for their daughter to grow up? The years continued. Leslie turned 7, then 8. She grew taller, smarter, more confident. The birthmark was just part of her now, something kids at school thought was a cool tattoo. She never corrected them. Hannah's presence faded somewhat. Not gone, just quieter. A background companion rather than a constant voice. The syndicate stabilized completely. Dae-young became a regular presence in their lives, updating Sarah on business matters she barely understood, making sure they were protected. Life found a rhythm. Not happy exactly, but functional. Peaceful. Then Leslie turned 9, and everything changed. Sarah woke one night to find her daughter standing at the window, birthmark blazing like a beacon. "Mommy," Leslie said without turning around. "The orchids are calling. Something's wrong." "Wrong how?" "Daddy's waking up." Sarah's heart stopped. "What? But it's only been 2 years." "I know. Leslie finally turned, and her eyes held that ancient knowledge again. Hannah says the seal is breaking. Not slowly like it was supposed to. Fast. Like something's attacking it from the other side. What does that mean? Leslie's expression was terrified. It means whatever the orchids were keeping contained, it's trying to get out. And Daddy's waking up right in the middle of it. They were in the car within minutes, racing through Seoul's midnight streets toward the harbor. Sarah drove with one hand, the other gripping Leslie's tightly. What's attacking the seal? Sarah demanded. What could be strong enough to? Hannah doesn't know. She just says it's angry. Old angry. Something that's been waiting longer than the orchids have been guarding. Leslie's voice shook. And it knows Daddy's there. It's trying to break him before he can wake up properly. Sarah pressed the accelerator harder. Dae-young had called 3 times. She'd ignored him. This wasn't syndicate business. This was family. The harbor district was chaos when they arrived. Emergency vehicles everywhere. Police barricades. People being evacuated from buildings. The ground itself was cracking, fissures spreading from the old pier, from directly above where the orchid chamber lay hidden. What's happening? Sarah grabbed a police officer. Seismic activity. Came out of nowhere. Structural engineers say the whole district is unstable. An explosion of sound cut him off. Not from above, from below. Deep, resonant like the earth screaming. The officer's radio crackled. Panicked voices reporting buildings collapsing, sinkholes opening, something wrong with the harbor water itself. Sarah looked at Leslie. Can you get us down there? The tunnels might have collapsed. Can you get us down there? Leslie's birthmark flared. Yes. They ran, dodging police, weaving through evacuating crowds. The maintenance door was partially buried in rubble, but Leslie touched it and the debris shifted aside like it recognized her. Down the stairs. The tunnels were damaged, ceiling cracked, water pouring through in places. But the orchids had reinforced the passage to their chamber, roots holding stone together through pure magic. They burst into the chamber, and Sarah's breath stopped. The mound covering Kong Min was thrashing. Orchids whipping violently, roots tearing themselves apart. Beneath them, she could see him. Partially exposed, eyes still closed but body convulsing. And surrounding the chamber, pressing against invisible barriers, was darkness. Not absence of light, actual darkness, thick and malevolent, trying to force its way in. It's here, Leslie whispered. The thing beneath the seal. Jehun hung in his root prison, eyes wide with terror, trying to scream around the growth covering his mouth. What do we do? Sarah asked desperately. I have to accept the guardian role. Now, even though I'm not ready. Leslie's voice was steady despite her fear. It's the only way to reinforce the seal before it breaks. You're 9 years old. I know. Leslie walked toward the central orchids. Hannah says if I do this now, it'll burn parts of me away. I won't be the same. I might lose memories, personality, pieces of who I am. Then we find another way. There is no other way. Leslie spun, tears streaming down her face. Don't you think I want to wait? Don't you think I want to be 13 and ready? But if I don't do this now, Daddy dies and Seoul falls and millions of people. The darkness pressed harder against the barriers. Cracks appeared in the chamber walls. I'm scared, Mommy. Sarah knelt, pulled her daughter close. I know, baby. I'm scared too. Will you stay with me? While I do it. Nothing could make me leave. Leslie pulled back, wiped her eyes, then walked to where the orchids covered Kong Min. She placed both hands on the mound. Daddy, can you hear me? For a moment, nothing. Then Kong Min's tattoo blazed bright. The orchids parted slightly, revealing his face. His eyes opened, confused, disoriented, struggling to understand. Leslie. His voice was rough from disuse. Why are you? I have to become the guardian, Daddy. Now. I know you wanted me to wait, but the seal is breaking and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. No. Kong Min tried to move, but the roots held him. You're too young. The cost. I know the cost. Hannah told me. Leslie's hands glowed. But it's my choice. My mark. My responsibility. Sarah, don't let her. I can't stop her. Sarah's voice broke. She's right. It's this or we lose everything. Kong Min looked at his daughter with such anguish Sarah felt it like a physical blow. Then I do it. Let me wake up fully. I'll take the guardian role permanently. You can't. The orchids already chose me. Leslie smiled through tears. But Daddy, when you wake up, really wake up, I'll need you. Because I don't know what I'll be like after this. What I'll remember. If I'll still be me. You'll always be you. Kong Min said fiercely. Always. Promise you'll help me remember? You and Mommy. Promise you'll tell me who I was. I promise. Leslie took a breath, then pressed her hands deeper into the orchid mound. I accept, she said clearly. I accept the guardian role. I accept the seal. I accept the responsibility. The chamber exploded with light. Leslie's birthmark spread like wildfire, up her arm, across her shoulder, over her chest. The compass rose multiplied, fractured, reformed into patterns that covered half her body. Ancient symbols Sarah didn't recognize glowing beneath her daughter's skin. Leslie screamed. Not from pain, from transformation. From becoming something more than human, something ancient and powerful and bound to the city's defense. The darkness pressing against the chamber recoiled, shrieking. The seal strengthened, barriers solidifying, the thing beneath being forced back down. Kong Min tore free from the orchids, lunging toward his daughter, but Sarah caught him. Don't interrupt, she said urgently. If you break her concentration. The light intensified until Sarah had to look away. The chamber shook, roots everywhere blazing white-hot. Then suddenly silence. The light faded. Leslie stood in the center, birthmark covering her left side from wrist to neck, glowing softly. Her eyes opened, both brown still, but with something ancient behind them. It's done, she said. Her voice sounded slightly different. Older. Layered. The seal is restored. The guardian has accepted her role. Leslie. Sarah moved toward her carefully. Baby, are you okay? Her daughter looked at her, tilted her head. Who's Leslie? Sarah's world stopped. What did you just say? The little girl, her daughter, her Leslie, looked at her with polite confusion. I asked who Leslie is. Is that my name? She looked down at herself, at the glowing marks covering her skin. I don't remember. No. Sarah grabbed her shoulders. No, baby, you're Leslie. Leslie Williams. You're 9 years old. You love drawing and dogs and asking too many questions. You're my daughter. Your daughter. The girl tested the words. That feels right, but I can't see it. There's supposed to be memories, but there. She pressed her hands to her head. They're gone. Or buried. Or burned away. Kong Min was at Sarah's side instantly, both of them kneeling in front of Leslie. What do you remember? He asked gently. The seal. The orchids. My purpose. Leslie's, because it was Leslie, had to be Leslie. Expression turned apologetic. I remember being underground, being told I had to wait, then waking up and knowing I had to accept the guardian role. She looked at Kong Min, and I remember you. Sort of. Like a dream. You're important to me. I'm your father. Father. She tested that word too. Yes. That feels true. Her eyes found Sarah. And your mother. I'm Mommy. You've called me Mommy since you could talk. Mommy, Leslie repeated obediently. But there was no recognition in it. Just a child learning a new word. Sarah felt something shatter in her chest. This was the cost. The price of becoming guardian too young. Leslie had saved them, saved soul, saved millions, and lost herself in the process. Hannah, Kong Min asked. The spirit who shared your body. Is she still there? Leslie's expression flickered. I feel echoes. Like someone was here recently but left. Or maybe merged. I don't know how to explain it. Try, Sarah urged. Please, baby, try. There's knowledge I shouldn't have. About magic and seals and ancient things. That's not mine, that's hers. But the personal memories, the ones about you and home and my life, those are just empty. Leslie's eyes filled with tears, even though she didn't seem to understand why. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm crying. I don't remember what I lost. Kong Min pulled his daughter into his arms, and Sarah wrapped around them both, and they held their child who had sacrificed her childhood, her very self, to save them. We'll help you remember, Kong Min said fiercely. Every story, every moment, every piece of who you were. We'll tell you until you know it by heart. Will that bring the memories back? I don't know. But you'll know who you are, even if you don't remember being her. Leslie pulled back, wiping tears with confusion. Okay. Yes. I'd like that. She looked around the chamber. Should we go home now? Home is. She paused, searching for knowledge that wasn't there. I don't know where home is. Itaewon, Sarah said gently. An apartment with too many of your drawings on the walls. And a dog named Compass who's going to be so happy to see you. Compass. Something flickered in Leslie's expression. Not quite memory, but recognition. That's a good name for a dog. It was something. Not much, but something. They left the chamber, Leslie between them, holding both their hands. Behind them, the orchids sealed the entrance. The seal was stable now, reinforced by their new guardian's acceptance. Sol would be safe. But the cost had been devastating. The days that followed were strange and painful. Leslie relearned her life, like studying for a test. Sarah showed her photo albums, told stories, played videos. Kong Min described her personality, her habits, the way she used to scrunch her nose when she was thinking. Leslie absorbed it all with polite interest, like learning about a stranger who happened to share her body. Compass helped. The dog remembered her, and Leslie responded to that unconditional love even without memories. She'd spend hours with him, running her glowing fingers through his fur, almost peaceful. The marks are permanent, Sarah asked Dae-young during one of his updates. The guardians we consulted say yes. She accepted the role too young. The magic had to dig deeper to anchor itself. His expression was grim. She'll carry those marks until she passes the guardian role to the next generation. And her memories? Unknown. Some guardians recover pieces over time. Others never do. He paused. I'm sorry, Ms. Williams. A week after Leslie's transformation, Sarah found her sitting at the kitchen table, drawing. What are you working on, baby? Leslie held up the paper. It was a perfect sketch of the orchid chamber. Every detail exact, drawn from memory that shouldn't exist. I don't remember being here, Leslie said. But I know this place. In my bones. In my blood. She started a new drawing. And I keep seeing this. The new sketch showed a symbol. Not the compass rose, something different. More complex. Ancient. Hannah, or the memories I have from her, says this is a warning. Leslie looked up with those two old eyes. The thing we pushed back down. It's not gone. Just sleeping again. For how long? She doesn't know. Years, maybe. Decades. Leslie touched the strange symbol. But Mommy, when it wakes up again, I'll have to fight it. Really fight it. Not just reinforce the seal, but face whatever's down there. Sarah's blood went cold. You're 9 years old. I'm a guardian. Leslie said it matter-of-factly. That's who I am now. That's what the marks mean. She reached out, took Sarah's hand. But the memories I'm building, of you and Daddy and Compass and home, those are mine. Really mine. Not burned away. I get to keep those. You do, Sarah said fiercely. And we'll make so many more. So many that even if the old ones are gone, you'll have a whole life full of new ones. I'd like that. Kong Min appeared in the doorway, looking more rested than he had in days. 2 years of sleeping underground had left him different too. Quieter, more careful, like he was still adjusting to being awake. He sat at the table with them, looked at Leslie's drawing. They're waking up, he read from the paper where Leslie had written those words. What's waking up? Leslie's expression turned distant, listening to something only she could hear. Everything, she whispered. All the old things Soul was built on top of. All the buried magic. All the forgotten monsters. She looked up at her parents. Strangers who felt like home even without memories to confirm it. And when they do wake up, we'll be ready. All 3 of us. Sarah reached for Kong Min's hand. He squeezed back. Together they looked at their daughter. Marked by magic, transformed by necessity. No longer quite the child she'd been, but still theirs. Together, Sarah agreed. Leslie smiled. It wasn't quite the innocent expression her old self would have worn. But it was real, and it was hers, and it was enough. Outside, Soul continued its oblivious life. Underground, in the orchid chamber, the seal held strong. And deep beneath that, in darkness older than memory, something ancient stirred in its sleep. Patient. Waiting. Knowing that all seals eventually fail. All guardians eventually fall. And when that day came, Soul would learn what its ancestors had buried. But not today. Today, a family sat at a kitchen table, telling stories to help a little girl remember who she used to be. And for now, that was enough.